2 months, many games, hundreds of hours, and one toothpick later, it's time to talk about the newest Thrustmaster sim equipment, the TLCM pedal set. Firstly, this video was supposed to be an unboxing with first impressions, but because of the current situation and possibility to spend more time testing it with different games, this video will also tell you why the toothpick was needed and if these pedals are worth considering. Although before we move on to the pedals itself, it needs to be mentioned that Thrustmaster also released 3 different accessories to accompany the TLCM. Cockpit adapter, which will be handy if we have a stand or cockpit compatible with T3PA or T3PA Pro because of different mounting points in TLCM set. T-pedal stand, a sturdier stand for our pedal set if we don't have a rig or a stand to mount them on. It's also compatible with T3PA and T3PA Pro pedals. And rubber grip. Simply the rubber covers for all the pedals if you have problems with slippery socks or you just like the look. After this short introduction, it's time to take a look at the pedals, and this is the box. Of course, we can see the design of the pedals and the explanation of the LCM abbreviation, Load Cell Magnetics. Load cell is a sensor built in the brake pedal that measures the pressure force or load of up to 100 kilograms put on the pedal, instead of just measuring its angle or movement. This way is closer to how the brake pedal works in a real car, where we are building up a pressure in a hydraulic brake system. Magnetics stands for magnetic Hall effect sensors found in clutch and throttle pedals instead of traditional potentiometers. One advantage of their use is reliability, because they don't get dirty and don't wear out. But they're also 4 times more precise. TLCM pedal set has a 16-bit resolution instead of 12-bit. Unfortunately, we can only benefit from the high precision on PC when using pedals directly through USB port. If we connect the pedals to the wheelbase, we will still be using 12 bits, both on consoles and PC. On the front of the packaging, we have information about compatible wheels. In case of PS4, these are T150, T300 and TGT models. For Xbox One, there is TMX, TX and TSXW. As for the PC, we have unlimited choice because, as I said before, pedals can be connected directly through USB, unlike with consoles. So we can use TLCM pedals even with wheels from other brands, as long as the game supports multiple devices. On the side of the box, there are some more key features that I've already mentioned, like load cell and magnetic sensors. But it's worth noting that inside we will find a set of 6 springs and 5 washers, which we can combine and swap to adjust the brake pedal resistance to our preferences. Also, similarly to other pedals from Thrustmaster, we can adjust the position and angle of the pedal faces. TLCM, just like T3PA Pro, has metal pedal arms and textured footrest, but unlike the T3PA Pro, its base is made out of plastic, so it had to be weighted. So they weigh over 5 kilograms, but it's still about 2 kilograms less than T3PA Pro. However, with that model, we don't really have to use a stand, because we can safely rest it against the wall thanks to its L shape. I can't imagine using TLCM without it being firmly attached to a stand or a rig, especially with the forces it can stand. And as for the attachment, there are 5 screw threads to mount the pedals to our stand, and inside we will also find a drilling template if the holes don't match. There is also information about calibration software for the pedals, but more details about this later in the video. At the bottom we can see the springs for adjusting the brake resistance, 5 with different stiffness and chromed preload spring. For the end, on the back we have compatible wheels with these pedals and stand. Okay. After this introduction from James May, it's time to start the unboxing. After opening the box, we have a template to drill holes in our rig. It also shows recommended bolt sizes to mount the pedal set, and earlier mentioned elements usable with our brake pedal and another information about calibration software. Next, there is user manual, and at the very end we can get our new pedals out of the box, which are secured with polystyrene and protective foil. At the side in the polystyrene, we will find all the accessories for the pedals, but first, let's end our unboxing.
Wow, look at this. Do you know what this means?
In first small bag, there are 3 additional plastic pedal head supports to adjust the pedal faces to vertical position. Next, there are 2 cables. One is USB for 16-bit PC connection, other is RJ12, which will connect the pedals to Thrustmaster wheelbase using 12-bit resolution. First of the remaining bags includes 2 red springs and 2 spaces dedicated for these springs, which also have red markings if we wouldn't notice that their tips are narrower than the other ones. Next, there is the white spring, 5 additional flat washers to mount instead of preload spring if we don't want that effect, and at the very end there is Allen key for adjusting pedal faces. Okay, let's take a look at the base. When we turn it over, we have access to mounting screw threads, which are matched with the earlier mentioned template. Next, at the back of our base, we have 2 connectors, USB and RJ12, an LED indicating connection state, and a magic button which probably is to recover your pedal's firmware. Probably, because it is not described anywhere, so it may also make your PC explode. Who knows? Okay, let's talk pedal face adjustments. As I said earlier, the arms are made out of metal, and every one of them has plastic supports and metal face. In terms of support, which adjusts the angle of the faces, there are 4 possible configurations. Manual mentions 3. Default, less inclined, where we have to turn around the default supports, and vertical position, which uses additional supports thicker than the standard ones. Fourth option is completely removing these supports. This might be a good option for throttle pedal, because apart from making the pedal even less inclined, it also moves it a bit back, so it might be easier to heel and toe. Next adjustment is pedal height. Every arm has 4 threads for Allen bolts, however only throttle pedal head has 3 holes, unlike clutch and brake, which have 2 each. As a result, we have 3 height options for throttle pedal and 2 for brake and clutch. In case of adjusting pedal spacing left and right, all pedals have 3 available positions, so we can adjust them to our liking. For example, moving brake and accelerator pedals closer to each other for easier heel and toe with smaller shoe size or bare feet. Now it's time to focus on the brake pedal. There's no doubt that pedal set from Thrustmaster with load cell was a long-awaited equipment. So far, if we didn't like how our brake pedal worked, we could have used conical brake mod available in T3PA pedal set, or if we had the top T3PA Pro set, we had a couple of mods and options to adjust the feel of the brake pedal. Other option was taking the risk of voiding the warranty and trying some aftermarket mods. In case of TLCM, it is a little bit different story. Accelerator and clutch springs don't have any official replacements or adjustments. Aftermarket modding is probably possible, but let's focus on what Thrustmaster provides us in the packaging with our pedals. So there's 5 available springs for the brake pedal. White, marked as F10, is the softest. 2 springs installed by default of medium stiffness, F15 grey and F20 black. 2 stiffest springs in the set, painted red and marked F30. By default, there are 2 medium resistance springs installed, and if we would like to change them, firstly, we have to disconnect the pedals from PC or wheel. Next, push down on the retaining head to unlock it, then pull the rod backwards from the pedal arm. Now we have access to change the springs or add washers to reduce or eliminate the preload effect. When we make up our mind about the choice of springs, the newcomers to load cell, I recommend white and grey ones. We repeat the steps in reverse order, but when we push down on our springs, we move the rod underneath the pedal arm and lock it in place. Voila! One note, if we install the stiffest springs and all 5 washers, we will limit the movement of the pedal quite a lot, and we will have to use some dangerous tools to press down all springs to unlock the retaining head.
Now that's what I'm talking about. It's broken.
Of course, right after installing our new pedal set, it is worth trying out all possible configurations to find the one that suits us the best. We also must not forget that after every change, we have to calibrate the pedals in the software. The application for that is free to download from Thrustmaster website, and we can calibrate the pedals only on PC with USB cable. In the software, we can set start and end dead zones for clutch and throttle pedals, and for brake pedal, we can adjust the start dead zone and brake force value. Every pedal is showing 2 values, raw, which shows the real absolute movement of the pedal, and final, which includes the applied dead zones and brake force, and that will be what is seen by the games. Dead zone settings are pretty straightforward. Brake force setting allows to adjust the sensitivity of the load sensor, so that with our preferred spring setup, we can comfortably reach 100% braking force reading in our game. After 2 months of testing, my setup is black F20 spring on the top and red F30 on the bottom, and my brake force value is at 80%. If we want to use the TLCM connected through the Thrustmaster wheel, we also have to update the firmware of our wheel to the newest version. Otherwise, our pedals won't be working correctly. They also won't be working correctly if for the last couple of years we have been switching bases connected to our pedals because we play both on Xbox and PlayStation. I was doing so, and through the last 5 years, been through 4 different bases and 5 sets of pedals from Thrustmaster, so my RJ12 connector in T300RS base is a bit loose. And while that wasn't causing any issues with T3PA pedals, with TLCM pedals I had a problem with brake pedal, which was applying the brake just very slightly even though my foot wasn't touching it. Problem didn't exist with other wheelbases or through USB. It could have been an issue with the connector, cable, firmware error, dust on a load cell, or some other dark scenario. Fortunately, this is where the toothpick comes to the rescue, because putting it into the connector together with the cable gets rid of the movement in the connector and it solves the problem. So now I can continue this review. Before moving to TLCM, for the last couple of months I was using the T3PA set, which is a nice improvement over the standard one. I also had a short marriage with the T3PA GT, which seems to be a slightly improved version of T3PA because they have a little bit more resistance in the pedals. So moving from T3PA to TLCM was quite a big step. And after a few weeks of using the latter, which have way stiffer springs and demand using more force, T3PA appear very light, where controlling pressure on each pedal seems almost impossible because I can feel barely any resistance. So if you're thinking of moving from T3PA to TLCM, it's definitely worth it. Situation is a little bit different when we're thinking of buying, or we already have a T3PA Pro set, which up to this point has been the top of the range Thrustmaster pedal set. Here it is best to answer the question, what do we really expect from our pedal set? If we expect a sturdy metal construction and an ability to use them like in real car, hanging from upside rather than the floor, the answer is T3PA Pro. If there isn't that much space for our pedals, for example under our desk, if we want to have the newest products, or if we really want low to sell pedals, the answer is TLCM. I personally wanted to get the T3PA Pro long before the announcement of the TLCM, but I don't have enough space to use them in GT mode. And I feel that running T3PA Pro in F1 mode is not really how they should be used. Driving impressions. After a few hundred hours of playing different games, I can safely assure you that the pedals haven't fallen apart. If some of you were worried of that, have they made my driving better? Yes, surely at the beginning you have to adjust to how the brake works, especially moving from the lower tier set, like I did. It will be working stiffer due to the springs, so it may happen that we thought we were braking as hard as possible and we still hit a tree. But we need to put more force into the brake pedal and not be afraid of doing so. On the other hand, it's easier to drive with no ABS. I know for some it may seem like I'm insane, but thanks to these springs, it's not so easy to look the wheels. Okay, apart from the situation when we stamp on the brake, we're not releasing it and we're just waiting for a miracle to happen. But that is an issue with the user, not with the pedals. I have a similar feeling about traction control. The pedal is working harder than in T3PA. It makes it easier to smoothly operate the throttle and we have better control over the car. Of course, if we have feet made out of flesh and not concrete. Only issue I found was the weird pedal movement from side to side. It's especially visible during heel and toe. However, while it's visible, you can't really feel it. If I wasn't looking at the recordings, I wouldn't be able to tell this was happening, unless one of the pedals was about to fall apart, but as I said before, they're still fine. Similar movement can be found on T3PA Pro, and I haven't heard that these pedals have broken because of that. One thing is certain, we have to make sure that the pedals are firmly mounted, so they're not moving, because if they will, we won't have the confidence and comfort of using them. I had them mounted to Wheelstand Pro and that was solid, and mounting is identical to the one in T3PA. There are a couple of things that could have been made better, or maybe they will make their way to upgraded version of these pedals. For me these are 1. Full metal construction, it would make the base heavier and more stable, and 2. If we had the possibility to flip the pedals like in T3PA Pro, we would also have even more stability, and it's just cool to be able to use the pedals in rally style. Maybe it wouldn't be such a simple and quick process like, for example, swapping rims in Thrustmaster wheels, but people do even more complicated stuff with their equipment. Third thing is a rumble model under the brake pedal. It would give us ABS simulation or key information about tires locking on the braking when we're not using ABS. I know that most of the games transfer this information through force feedback on the wheel, but feeling on the foot would be more intuitive. It's time to conclude this video. It's hard to give a straightforward opinion about the purchase of these pedals, because every case should be judged individually. One thing is certain, as a long-time T3PA user, the TLCM pedals have made me improve my lap times and made my driving more consistent, especially without ABS, which is a big success and best recommendation. It is also important that the pedals are just as, if not even more important than the wheel itself, if we're talking about consistency in driving, and the TLCM pedals can give us that. They're also currently the cheapest available load cell pedals on the market, so they're definitely worth considering if we are getting dragged into sim racing more, but we don't want to spend a fortune on a set of Fanatec or maybe even Heusinkveld pedals just yet. So that is it for this review of the Thrustmaster TLCM pedals. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more racing games content. Goodbye.